Welcome to Slice of Lyme, a podcast by and for Lyme warriors, where we share truth, resilience, and hope, one episode at a time. We are not doctors, and this is not medical advice, just real stories and what's worked for us on our own journeys. Welcome back to Slice of Lyme. Today's guest is Amanda Ruotolo. She had chronic Lyme and mold for about 5 to 6 years and then went into remission for about a year before deciding to get pregnant again. She is currently navigating pregnancy and a flare, and she has a health coaching business, Sanctuary Health, where she helps others coping with chronic health issues through brain rewiring and nervous system regulation. Amanda, thank you so much for joining us. How are you today?
I'm good. Yeah, thanks so much for having me. How are you guys?
Good. Ready to rock
Yeah.
and roll this morning.
Yeah, hanging in there.
Yeah, we're on our A game today, in case you can't tell. So,
Yeah.
I feel ya. I feel ya.
yeah. So you have had quite a journey with chronic Lyme and mold, and I'm curious to hear. I want to kind of start at what life was like for you before you got sick. Like, what
Great
was it
question.
like before symptoms started?
Yeah, that is a great question. And I think I'm sure you guys can relate. Like, once I got diagnosed and figured it out, I started piecing back, like, was I sick earlier? Like, when did it really happen? Because I so and I'll let me start with that and then I'll get to that part. But so I got sick or figured out I had chronic Lyme when I gave birth to my first daughter and then had a whole host of symptoms after in 2020 in the middle of the pandemic. So before that, it was my 20s. I thought I was healthy. I never was really into health at all, living my life, doing all the things. But I definitely was someone who was always prone to like chronic migraines, um, hangover. I'd be drinking with my friends. Hangovers would be miserable for like days. So it always felt like I was like just more prone to like just not feeling well. But I never really, I think I got my headaches explored at one point. They didn't find anything. So I never really thought anything of it. I was fully living my life, grew up normally, without any, diagnosed health issues. College, was working in Manhattan for 5 years, never really had any issues. So, when my husband and I decided to start trying, yeah, I didn't think anything of it. I thought I was generally healthy, yeah, up until, the crash storm postpartum is what I like to call it.
So, did you feel symptoms while you were pregnant too? Or did it all just hit postpartum?
So the only thing that happened, I had a generally really good pregnancy, although my anxiety became really tough. So that is an aspect as well, like the mental symptoms. I definitely have been someone who's a chronic anxiety sufferer most of my life. So the anxiety ramped up. I was having like a lot of episodes of like my heart racing and like palpitations. So I did get like my heart checked at one point. They were like, "You just have a fast heart rate. It's all good." But the thing that what I think started it was when I was probably like 2 weeks before I had delivered. I had a really sharp like spasm in my upper back. I've like never had anything like that. To the point I almost went to the ER. I didn't end up going. I just kind of battled through it. Ended up going to like a prenatal chiropractor who worked through it. But that to me was like the kind of defining moment of like a really weird symptom that I had no explanation for. And then from then, when I gave birth, I had the epidural. I did get an epidural and my eyelid drooped. And the anesthesiologist was like, "Oh, I've never had that happen in my 30 years.
Oh,
That's
wow.
odd." It went back to normal right after it wore off, so we didn't
Oh,
think
good.
anything of it. And then in the weeks after that was when everything started. So yeah, truly postpartum was when I was starting to think like, oh, something's not right. This isn't normal like postpartum stuff.
So, what symptoms were you experiencing in the postpartum?
Yeah, so it started with bouts of what I now know as air hunger, where I felt like I just couldn't breathe at all. I'd be in the shower and then all of a sudden be like, do I need to go like lay down? Like what's going on? POTS, nerve pain that migrated all over to the point that I was convinced I had MS or, something like that. really bad migraines that would last for like 5 days at a time, insomnia. So even when she was sleeping, and my daughter's name is also Callie, by the way, spelled the same way and
Oh,
everything.
wow. Small
I
world.
never hear that name. So yeah.
Me neither.
Um, right. So yeah, so it was insomnia, the migraines, the nerve pain, really bad nausea, that they couldn't explain. And of course it was COVID. So getting to the doctor was like impossible. It took me like 2 months to even get in. But the thing that tipped me over the edge to call primary and eventually get to a neurologist was visual snow. So like my vision was just like I was seeing double. I lost like depth perception. I couldn't tell like if I was looking at someone, everything looked like it was blending like behind them. And everything was like kind of snowy at night. Like it was harder for me to see my daughter in her crib. So, as you can imagine, the anxiety symptoms, the mental health was like, what the hell is going on? It was the worst anxiety of my life. I was having multiple panic attacks a day, not knowing like what was happening to me. So, yeah, that's kind of what started it. All around like 1 to 2 months postpartum was when they all kind of gradually all came on.
So did you find a doctor that like so when you found or like went on this doctor journey, was there a specific doctor that kind of said, let's look at Lyme? Or like how long was that journey until you figured out what it was?
Yeah, good question. So I initially knew like nothing about Lyme, and I live in Connecticut, so it's kind of funny that it's like I know it originated here, but I never thought anything of it. So I did I went to my primary, she got me to a neurologist. The neurologist ran every test under the sun. Everything came back normal. So he was like, "You're just postpartum. Like, you probably need to get more sleep." Put me on SNRI, thought his job was done. I had started getting into holistic health like before I was pregnant. I was listening to some podcasts that would have people on that were more into like functional medicine. So I just knew I was like, something's wrong that they're not figuring out. Like, this is not sleeping. Like, you don't get nerve pain from lack of sleep, from what I know. So I found, I was living in the Westchester County area at the time. Um, and I found a local functional medicine doctor who she did a Western blot on me, which showed a past infection. She did a mold urine test, which showed high numbers like across the board. So she was the one so this all started, I gave birth in February. It started like March, April. I found her in the summer. So by like late summer, I had those diagnoses, which then started a whole new chapter of I started researching Lyme, went in the support groups, and that turned into like a whole new thing because I was seeing sides of Lyme that I was like, I didn't even know this thing existed. And as I'm sure you guys, if you've been in support groups, I'm sure you know it can get a bit dark, unfortunately, there.
Yeah.
So the anxiety went even worse once I was like, oh my God, I have this. What's going to happen to me? And all
Yeah.
those cycles of feelings. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's scary when you
100%.
first get that diagnosis. It's almost like opening up Pandora's box
Yeah.
because it's so
Yeah.
complex. And then when you do get in those support groups, you're seeing other people's symptoms and you're like, is that going to be me? Yeah.
Right. That's exactly how it was because I went in the support groups to see like, okay, what should I do? Because this doctor wanted me to just start on doxycycline, but then I saw someone say never do that by itself. You got to do, the biofilm busters and all the other stuff with it. So I was like, do I find another doctor? And then I was seeing people and I empathize with everyone in those support groups because as you guys know, like this disease can be terrible. So I totally empathize with them. But as someone who was new to this and didn't know what to make of it, it caused me to really spiral even more, for sure.
Yeah, I had to remove myself from the support groups after my diagnosis. Like at first
Yeah.
I like reached out and I was like, "Oh, like this is what I'm going through, blah blah." And then people would like put their own stories in there and like what they've experienced and it's like, "Oh, I can't look at that. Like that's not, again, like I feel empathy for them and
Yeah.
I relate to the stories, but sometimes it becomes this like unhelpful. It's like the opposite of a support group, right? Sometimes it's just not supportive to see what other people are going
Right.
through when they're suffering so much.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I found. I had to take myself out too. I was like, all right, I got some information. I was able to get some like good LLMDs information because my functional medicine doctor, admittedly, she was like, I know enough to test and I could start treating you. She's like, but I'm not, heavily focused in Lyme. So that ended up my whole treatment journey. I don't know if you want me to go into that, but that's when I started finding my doctors and uh, got on that path from there.
Yes, we do want you to go into that.
Yeah.
Tell us,
So like,
tell us.
yeah, tell us, if you want to, like, who did you start seeing? And then are they covered by insurance, or is this something you had to cover like by yourself out of pocket?
Oh yeah, nothing was under insurance, that's for sure. I think, looking back between all of the Lyme doctors, the treatments, and the mold journey, I've it's probably been over $100,000 at this point.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, the first doctor I found, his name was Dr. Manganero. He was in New Jersey. He was great. And he actually, I don't know if you guys have followed Allie Hilfiger's story. I had read her book at the time, Bite Me, and he was one of the doctors she saw. And I was like, oh, he's nearby. Like, let me see if I can get in with him. So I was taking weekly, like taking time off work to go down to his office in New Jersey weekly. He had me do like a whole detox protocol with IV detox. It was like glutathione, vitamin C, like a bunch of different vitamins, and then viral injections. He does a cool thing where he does the blood analysis. So he like pricks your finger and does it under a microscope to see what you have. So he
Oh,
came back with a
interesting.
full report. Yeah, it was really cool. So it showed, all the Lyme and co-infections, Bartonella, Mycoplasma, Babesia. He uncovered some parasites, a viral, EBV.
Oh, yeah.
Um, Yep, so everything I feel like that you typically see come alongside it. So, yeah, we went into a detox, protocol for about a month or 2, including binders for mold. Because through the mold process, we did figure out I was living in my father's house that had mold at the time, so, they wanted me to start treating for that as well, and we had my dad's house remediated, but hindsight being 2020, we didn't have the right people do that. I don't think they really did it to the extent that it should have been done. We ended up moving, which I'll get to in a little bit. But so yeah, so I started with this doctor. It was a detox plan. We went into IV antibiotics. I did Rocephin for about 10 weeks. And an herbal alongside that, an herbal like combination, and I only ended up feeling worse. Obviously, the anxiety was like through the roof at this point. So I think now what I know about the nervous system, I don't think my body was ready to take on any of those medications. I think I should have done it in a much different method. But yeah, so I went through that for about like 5 months. And then I was like, you know what? I want to try just the herbal route. Maybe the antibiotics are making me worse. So then I found a naturopath. She was out in California. Um, and she had me do an essential oil protocol and some herbals. So that next summer, so 2021, was all focused on an essential oil protocol that was supposed to hit everything. And that actually worked well. I saw a lot of reduction in my visual symptoms, and some of like the insomnia, the headaches all started to go away. So I was feeling hopeful. We decided we were going to move back to Connecticut, where we're from, because we had my daughter now. We wanted to be near family. So we had moved in with a friend for a little bit while we were building a new house, because I was like, if I'm dealing with this mold, every house, we were doing an ERMI in every house and they were all high. So I'm like, all right, our next option is to build. So we went through the
Yeah.
whole building process. Amidst all of that, I did decide to get the COVID vaccines, and that was definitely a big setback for me. I had listened to Dr. Horowitz, the LLMD, on a podcast, who was like, it's it's what the, Lyme patients should do. It'll help them get back into the world. They're so
Yeah.
safe. So I went into that, and yeah, had some bad reactions there, which really set me back. So
Tell us about the reactions from the
yeah,
vaccine because I also reacted to the first COVID vaccine shot. And some
yeah.
doctors said if I got the second one, I probably would have a heart attack. So tell us
Mm.
about like what you experienced after getting the vaccine.
Yeah, yeah. So mine was really neurological. I would try to go to bed. The first night I tried to go to bed and I don't even know, nobody still has been able to explain it, but it's like this full body like shiver or like electrical like sensation that would
Oh
just
yeah,
like kinda, like, wake me up, and it felt I was like, "Oh my god, am I not gonna be able to, like, literally go to sleep now?" Like, I didn't know what that was about. All the visual issues came right back. I was getting vertigo, dizziness, the migraines came back, so really it felt like I lost all the progress I had made over the past, whatever it was, 6, 7 months. I did still go for the second shot. I waited a little bit longer. I went about a month later. And that one, I still was having the same symptoms. I didn't notice anything. I didn't really have a doctor at the time that was telling me what I should or shouldn't do. I was with the naturopath, but she was kind of like, "Yeah, it's really up to you." She didn't really tell me one way or another. So I did get that other shot. Nothing really changed. I was still just in that
really
downward spiral. But yeah,
symptomatic. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I would say the neurological stuff has been the biggest thing for me throughout the whole time. Um, and at that point, I decided to go to another provider because I was like, I've already tried that with, the essential oils. Maybe I need a different route. So I found the Vegas clinic. I don't know if you guys have heard of that team. She's out of Montreal, but she does a lot of virtual
Oh, okay.
stuff. She was really good. Um, she does a lot with, like, Cellcore, if you've heard of Cellcore products, they do, like, the
Yep.
parasite cleanses and binders and all that stuff, so that was when I really started that journey of, parasite cleansing, more binding, a lot of binding. We were living with a relative while our house was being built, so I was trying to, like, maintain because I knew there was probably mold there too, um, and that went well. I would say I was feeling a little bit better once I started doing the parasite work and binding a lot. And she had me do some herbals along with that. So that was kind of like the next 6 months or so. So that brings me to like the spring of 22. And that was when we moved into our new house. And things were going relatively well at first, but then I started having a new host of crazy symptoms. So
Oh
I think
no.
yeah, I think I was reacting to maybe like the chemicals in the new house, like the paint, all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
that was when I started having like chest related symptoms, a lot of air hunger, like shooting chest pains, um, yeah, a lot of like chest, heart related stuff. That's what it felt like. So I got in with a cardiologist and was going down that path while treating with she had me start doing the Cowden protocol, if you guys are familiar with him.
Mhm.
I don't think I've heard of that one. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
so
protocol.
Dr. Lee Cowden, he does it's another herbal protocol. He does like Berber panella, Petunia, Cemento, and Banderol. So if you've heard of any of those herbs, it's another one that's supposed to target kind of like everything at once. Um, And yeah, I went through that for that summer. I saw a little bit of relief, but then I feel like I would slide back. So by the end of that summer was when I really was like, I need to take a new approach. So I started really diving into learning about the nervous system. I did the Primal Trust program with Dr. Kathleen King. So I did that program and I was really getting into brain rewiring. So that's kind of what I started doing at that point, while still figuring out like what kind of treatment I wanted to do.
So I'm currently doing
primal trust. I do DNRS
Oh,
for an
nice.
hour every day, like the visualizations.
Okay.
And I was like, I don't know, I just want to see like what else is out there. And for the
Hmm.
price, it's like the same price as a gym membership. So it's like whatever. I'm
Yeah.
on the module of actually I'm in the middle of their brain rewiring module right now because it is
Okay.
heavy. Like there's a lot
Yeah.
there, but she has a whole module on polyvagal theory and then vagus nerve
Hmm.
exercises. And the vagus nerve exercises, like the eye yoga and stuff, or I mean, I don't know. What are
Yes.
your thoughts? Because sometimes I'm like, my goodness, this is a lot of information.
I did feel like it was a lot. I don't know that I was ever able to do like the full, like the full 1 hour like every day with it. For me, it's like, I don't know about you guys, but it's like I have my daughter at home. I was still working full time this whole time. So it was like trying to balance like living my life while healing, which was hard in and of itself. So I would like pick and pull out what I liked from it and try to just do things like when I'd brush my teeth, I would do some of like the eye moves that she has in there if you've gotten to those. Some of them I really liked. For me, the eye exercises were really helpful. Actually use them with my clients now because I think they are like so helpful, especially for like toning down the anxiety. So I really kind of like I went through the program for about I think it was like 3 or 4 months when I was doing it alongside trying to treat. And by the end of it, I was kind of pulling out what I liked and like leaving the rest behind. So I kind of like made it into my own thing, to be honest.
So tell us how it was like balancing working full time, battling your health, and raising your daughter, because that's a lot.
Hmm.
Were you going into
Yeah.
the office every day, or was it a flexible situation to where you could work from home?
Yeah, thankfully, when we moved, so we decided to move, we moved in the summer of 21. My office agreed to let me work fully remote, once I moved because I was gonna be with traffic in the tri-state area, it was gonna be over an hour and a half each way. I was like, "That's just with family life, like, I would never see my kids." So they were very understanding with that, thankfully, so I've been working remote since then. So that aspect was really helpful. Um, and it's hard. So my husband, he's been going in since we moved, he's been going into work really early. He goes in for like 4 or 5 a.m. So it's me and my daughter in the morning, which is fun. We get that bonding time, but also it's like there's no break, right? It's like you
Yeah.
wake up, they're there, they need your attention, they need your focus. I definitely went through a period where I almost took a leave of absence from work when my symptoms still continued to get worse for a bit. And my mindset was going down like every worst case scenario. I was getting like full body twitching at one point. My nerves and my muscles were just like they had it. So yeah, around that same year, I almost thought about taking a leave of absence until I started to really get like my anxiety under control. So it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. I think working from home had its benefits. Like every lunch hour, I would like try to just rest, try to like regroup, and I would take my laptop outside, try to get like sun when I could. But no, I did not have a good answer for it at the time. It took a lot of like trial and error, getting rest on the weekends. My husband's been great. You know, he would cook at night if I was like, I just need to like lay on the couch with her and not do much. So it was really, for me, it's like a day by day thing. And we would check in with each other and be like, all right, how much like energy do you have? Like, what are you at? What am I at? Like, who's going to really do most of this, and honestly, I would like she has a big bed, so I would if I'm putting her to bed, I would just end up falling asleep in there at like 7 or 8 o'clock and just trying to get what I could for sleep. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like so hard trying to balance all of that. I'm right there with you right now. I have a 6-year-old and 3-year-old
Oh,
old,
nice.
and I work full time too. For a while, it was fully remote, but I've been feeling better, so I go in more. But it's flexible enough to where if I don't feel good, I just leave the office and nobody asks
Yeah,
questions. But yeah, it's important to have like a job that's understanding and then the support at home. So that's nice that you have that.
totally. Yeah, my boss has been amazing. Like we've been working together for like 8 years now. It started as a very small company and yeah, like if I need the afternoon off or I'm like, hey, I just gotta like have a lighter load right now. She's been so understanding, which yeah, like I certainly empathize for those people who don't have that understanding because it really can make or break like you being able to feel capable of like getting through your day.
Hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah. So you started Primal Trust and then you were doing a few other things. When and where do you feel like you reached your turning point?
So that year was when I was doing Primal Trust. I was treating, I was feeling like I was not making any headway. So this was when I moved to a new practice. Actually, I believe me and Christine have been chatting a little bit on TikTok, and I think she goes to the same team, Whole Body Medicine in Connecticut. I was with them for a while. I started going to them because I was like, "Hey, I've been treating for, like, this long, like, I'm not making progress, like, what is going on?" And they had me explore mold even in the new build. They were like, "Hey, it could still happen." So we ended up finding, like, a really good, mold tester locally and a remediator, and we figured out that our HVAC was compromised, likely during the construction process. So we ended up having to get an entire new HVAC system, our whole house kind of really deep cleaned and remediated. So that was a big setback. But I was hoping that getting through that, because I'm sure you guys probably know, like they say, like if mold is part of it, it's going to be hard for you to really make the progress that
Hmm.
you want.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so we did that whole remediation that spring. And then we moved back in. We were out of the house for a little bit and I saw some relief. I would say slight relief in symptoms, but I just was still like the anxiety, I think, was just at a really high level that it was preventing me from like getting to where I wanted to. So that was when I was like, that was like my breaking point. I was like, we've done all this stuff, we've spent all this money like, and you know, um, these practitioners are not cheap, right? Like, if I'm going to
Yeah.
keep treating, like, I want to see progress. So that was when I really decided to stop everything, honestly. And I just focused on like what was my mindset? Like, what was I like waking up thinking about? So I just completely shifted and I went into really focusing only on my nervous system, really focusing on like the identity I was creating. Like, what am I waking up believing? Am I believing I'm already going to feel symptoms? Am I waking up scanning my body for what's wrong? Or am I looking for like what's going right? And I made that my focus. I got back into really going outside for daily walks, getting sunlight. Um, and in the midst of all this, I had gone for my health coaching certificate because I was like, I want to first just learn, like, how can I really take care of myself from like a holistic perspective? So initially it was for myself to get me through that. And then I wanted to be able to help others. So really using what I learned through that program and just like cutting out I'm like, the supplements aren't helping at this point. I'm wasting like 500 to $1,000 a month. Like, let me
Yeah.
try something else. So yeah, that was when I just honestly scaled back on everything. I was still on gabapentin for like nerve stuff. That was pretty much the only like medication I was really doing. And honestly, that was when I started to see shifts. It took a while, but that fall was when I like started to really shift my whole attitude. I was doing some like natural support for anxiety that started to like take the edge off of like how crazy I was feeling at times. And that was when I really started to notice the difference in everything. And that was like all of last year. And when I finally felt like I had gotten to remission, I weaned myself off of gabapentin. That was a grueling process. It took like 6 months. But luckily I had a supportive, he's like a holistic primary doctor, who worked with a compounding pharmacy to really get me like titrated doses off. And then I finally was like, I think I've reached remission because it was like I wasn't having the daily pain. I wasn't even thinking about it anymore. I was actually just like enjoying like life again. I was like going out on the weekends, not focusing, not researching like crazy. I feel like that just researching like what could be wrong with me and what doctor I should be seeing was consuming like so much of my time. So honestly, for me, it was taking a step back and just like reevaluating everything that finally got me like over the hump.
So are you still off of everything right now?
Yes. Yep.
That's
So
amazing.
I was off of everything for like 4 or 5 months. So since like last November, before we were like, all right, we're ready to try for number two, like, let me give it a little bit of time. And so we started doing that, in the spring, and it was a bit of an easy process, thankfully. So yeah, so I had weaning off, I felt good, and then it was like, "All right, the last step is, like, being off everything, making sure I'm still feeling good," and then once that happened, I was feeling pretty confident that I can, yeah, get back to doing all the things.
I love that. I bet it was like a super freeing feeling remission. Like after this long journey that you've been through, tell
Yeah.
us tell us how that felt, like reaching the other side. Because I'm sure like we have a bunch
Yeah.
of listeners that are in the middle of it right now and would love to hear like how freeing it is to finally get there after such a long, hard journey.
Yeah, I had to actually allow myself to feel it, which I think may sound weird. I think I was, like, so used to just waking up in pain and not knowing what the day was gonna be that I had to, and that was where, like, really focusing on my thoughts and stuff really helped, but the joy of just being able to, like, go about my day and not be thinking about, like, "Oh, no one else is feeling as crappy as I am," like, "No one else knows what I'm going through," like, just having that just, like I can't even describe it. It's I think it's like a form of depression of just feeling, like, so isolated from the chronic symptoms, and then
Yeah.
being able to shift that mentality to like, "Okay, I have these symptoms, but I can still live my life," and then feeling better and better and just being able to go it feels amazing. I mean, being able to, like, go about my day and not focus on taking 10 things in the morning, 10 things at night just to feel like I'm
Can
not even
function.
keeping things under control, barely
Yeah.
keeping things under control. Yeah, it's been amazing. That's the best thing I could say, and even though, like, I've had symptoms now here and there pop up, it's still I just have a completely different mindset around it, and I feel like that is what I would want any listener to understand is like, yes, we can be feeling these things. Yes, we can be treating, going through our journeys, but like you can control your mindset and you can shift how you feel about what you're going through, how you're going about your day. Because for me, it was like getting back to like finding the joy too while I was still healing that like made so much of a difference. Like it was like at one point, I was like, I don't, just because I'm feeling this way, I don't have to be like miserable through this whole thing. Like I can still try to be present with my kids and or my daughter and do all that. So that I think really helped me like get to the other side for sure.
Mhm, mhm. We just talked about joy in our podcast that Callie and I did last week, because I think it was Krista who was saying that she looks for glimmers in
Yes.
everyday, life, and I was saying I was listening to this chronic health podcast, and the guy was saying, like he was saying, like, I don't even remember the last time I felt joy," and that's when I realized, like, joy was a huge part of what was missing from my healing journey, and it's like, yeah, it's really hard, like, when you're bedbound or housebound or struggling with anxiety or achy or like whatever to just be like, there is good out there still, even if it just means like we're looking at the changing leaves. Like that
Yeah.
is still good and pretty and joyful.
Yeah, just sitting
That's it.
outside and watching the wind, like, blow the trees and hearing the birds. I don't know, just like Abby said, looking for the small glimmers.
That's exactly it. Like, I mean, there were days where it was like, okay, my whole entire body is hurting, but my bed sheets feel really soft right now. My room feels cozy. Like it's like literally like helping your brain find those moments, however like small it is, you know? Because once you're like looking for it, I feel like I've started seeing more and more of it.
Mhm.
And yes, there were days where it was like a single body part did not feel good, as I'm sure you guys can relate. But that's when you look out to your point, like the leaves, does the air smell good right now? Like I love like the changing seasons, you know, that kind of thing. So it's finding that really, however small it can be.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So you felt like you had reached remission. Tell us about your coaching business and how you started that.
Yeah, so I started it honestly probably a little prematurely. I was still kind of going through it, but I felt like I had figured so much out in terms of just like my mindset was healed honestly before my physical symptoms were. So I was like, if I can help anyone just like start to make those shifts, like I feel like it would be helpful. So um I initially started it and then I was like, I'm not as ready. So I would say I've been really active for about a year, kind of on Instagram and just trying to reach people to like offer help. I post YouTube videos with like different nervous system practices. Um, so yeah, it's been about a year and I started really just sharing a lot about like the mindset shifts that have been helping me, the nervous system stuff, and also just like what I call like the health foundations, like balancing your circadian rhythm. Like, are you getting enough sunlight? You know, are you blocking like blue light before bed? Things that really helped me get better sleep, which then helped everything else, you know, start to feel a little bit better. So, yeah, it's really just been those three things, you know, nervous system, mindset, and then those healthy foundations. And I've been having clients, which has been really fun just to like get to interact with them and see how like, you know, what they're going through and how I can be helpful to them. So it's really just been kind of touch and go, trial and error, seeing like what people like, what's working for them. And I've just DM'd with a lot of people just who are like, tell me how you did it or like tell me your success story. And I'm like, you know, what I would say to anyone, like I'm always happy to just share my story if it can be helpful because that's what I did early on. I reached out to anyone that I saw that was like in remission and I'm like, what can you tell me? Like I couldn't, you know, pay for anything at the time. I was like, whatever for free advice you can share. And people were so helpful. So I was like, if I can just be that in any form for people, I feel like I'm like helping. So, yeah, it's just been really fun to like interact with people and get out there.
So when you reached out to when you were going through it and you were reaching out to those people who'd made it to the other side, was there a trend that you saw that they did to get there?
Yeah, there was one girl's story that really, I think, finally clicked for me. She was on, I don't think she really posts anymore. Her handle, I think, is like eat.heal. So her stuff is still out there and it was always just like helping. But a lot of her posts were like, have no fear to heal. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm living in fear 24/7. Like,
Mhm.
is this the thing that's like keeping me, you know, keeping my nervous system stuck? So I was like heavily into like all of her posts and she corresponded with me a lot online. So I probably should thank her somehow at this point for all of the help she gave me. So yeah, she did a lot of protocols, a lot of herbal stuff, which led me to kind of find like naturopaths and things like that. But she was the one that talked about joy and like finding even the smallest things and like not letting fear stop you, like knowing that like even if you're feeling this way, like going down the what if scenario route does not help. It's not happening right now. You have no idea what could or couldn't happen. So like there's no sense in like spending your time focusing on like, oh, what if I just keep getting worse? Like you could focus on what if I keep getting better? So she was really helpful. And I think, you know, just finding people that were talking a lot about the nervous system. I think once my algorithm started on that path, I was getting a lot of people who were like, I healed with this and that. I got really into the mind body healing world. I don't know if you guys have heard of like Dr. John Sarno or Nicole Sachs. Nicole Sachs is really good. She does the cure for chronic pain. Um, their kind of mindset is like healing the fear, kind of getting neutral to your symptoms so that your nervous system calms down enough to then heal itself. So again, I take like a little bit from each person that I've learned from. I still think there's some benefit to treating when it makes sense. But I dove into like all of their work. They have tons of books and podcasts out there. So again, probably what I would say to listeners is like find the success stories, find the people that have healed, listen to it. Like if you're going to listen to anything, let it be somebody that's like gotten to the other side to give your brain those like positive reinforcements.
Hmm. I was doing that about a month ago. I went on this kick where I was like, I'm only listening to healing podcasts. And I literally asked ChatGPT to like populate a weekly um, schedule for me. And I would just click through the ChatGPT recommendations. And a lot of it was like the Chronic Comeback podcast. And that one I think is really good because it is people on the other
Yes.
side. Every once in a while, it's like a doctor or provider. They had Dr. Kathleen King on there, which is where I was like,
Mm,
I should just try Primal Trust again because you could just pull a little bit from here and from there and see what works for you. But the other note I wanted to make is I've heard stories of people who healed just from regulating their nervous system. And so, like, I
yeah.
think that's important as well, right? Some people have to treat, some people need to treat, and then some people are able to heal just through regulating the nervous system, which I think is so interesting and so empowering.
I
Yeah,
agree.
exactly. Yeah, that was what that's a lot of like the Nicole Sachs stuff and Dr. John Sarno. And that's like what the angle I try to take with a lot of my clients because a lot of them find me and they're like, I'm taking all the stuff, I'm only feeling worse. And that was like my story. So it's like, okay, then I would say look at your nervous system, look at like your thought patterns, things like that. Like there's other ways to heal. Like I hope people know that like just because you're reacting, like it doesn't mean all hope is lost. Like there's always a way.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Callie, do you have a question?
Um, so throughout your journey, did you experience any food allergy symptoms or drug allergy symptoms? Were you sensitive to food? Were you sensitive to smells? Because I know
Yes,
you mentioned
definitely.
mold, and mold can cause a bunch of sensitivities as well.
Oh, yes. Food restriction and the allergy testing was a big part of that. I know I feel like there's so many I would probably be here for like 4 hours if I went into like each individual piece, but that is a great question. Yeah, early on, the first functional medicine doctor, she did have me do like an elimination diet and then I tried adding in, like, gluten, dairy, like, the bigger triggers, and I was, like, a mess after I tried each of those, so there was a good probably 2 years, like, from, mid-2020 into 22 where I was eating, like, very limited foods, like, my husband's like, "We're each week, it feels like we're, like, removing something," because it would give me I think I have had MCAS for sure, I mean, no one they tried doing, like, a urine test for it at one point, but it didn't come back, but I still think I have that to some degree. So yes, that was a big part of it, and honestly, what healed those symptoms I did a lot of the Zyrtec and the Pepcid
Yep,
combination at one point.
that's what I'm on right
Um,
now.
yeah, is it helping?
Um, yeah. Well, I also had to cut out a bunch of food, but for a while
Yeah.
there, it was like if I wasn't taking it, I was going anaphylactic. Um, but I've started healing my nervous system, and ever since I started that, I'm feeling better. So I'm not
Yeah,
taking the Pepcid and Zyrtec every day like I was before. I was supposed to
that's
be
great.
taking it every day, 3 times a day. That's how bad my
Mm.
sensitivities had gotten.
Oh, wow, yeah, so mine were never anaphylactic, thankfully for me, it was just a lot of, like, body pain, the chronic, like, postnasal drip, I would get migraines from certain foods.
Yeah.
I was down to, like, honestly 105 pounds, which I'm, like, 5'5", so it's not, everyone was like, "You're like, you gotta get you eating more foods, like, this is not good." So honestly, repatterning the fear around symptoms of assuming I was going to react to gluten and whatnot was what really helped. And this whole past year of like really nervous system focus,
Yeah,
I eat everything now. Like I just had
that's amazing.
sausage, egg, and cheese on a bagel yesterday, and it was like,
Yum.
I'm fine. So
I love that.
the yeah, so the food stuff can definitely get better, is what I would say. And I think, because our nervous systems, they're so intricate. It's like if
Yeah,
you react one time and then your body's, it's like you're internally tensing every time you go to have that food again because you're in fear of what that reaction's going to be. And that for me was a big part of it. It was letting go of that fear around the food
yeah,
Mhm. Mhm. Callie,
and
I
gut
would
health. I mean, gut health, all that. Sorry.
yeah, no. Callie, I would definitely say like with the nervous system stuff, um, checking out Primal Trust I think would be helpful. But also like Amanda said, like the gut and brain are connected. And so like
yeah,
rewiring the brain, right? So like remember
Mhm.
that video I did a while ago where I ate sushi for the first time in a long time?
Mm.
I'm telling you, I had to like visualize, like I had to do visualizations before I had the sushi. Like, it's gonna be delicious. I'm gonna, blah blah blah. It's gonna be so good. It's like because I never reacted to sushi, but I have reacted to other things in the past.
yeah,
And so I had to like prep my body for this like super positive experience. And it was indeed a super positive experience. Like it was totally fine and it was delicious and it was great. So I think all that to say, like, the nervous system work, I think is huge. But then also knowing that because the brain and the gut are connected, like the rewiring you're doing up here trickles down everywhere else. Like that
yeah.
matters.
It's the key.
Totally.
It's the key to healing.
That's right. That's right. Amanda, if any listeners wanted to reach out to you, so I have two questions. If any listeners wanted to reach out to you, first of all, what can they expect from your coaching process? And second of all, how can they reach out to you and where could they find you?
Yeah, sure. So, in terms of the coaching process, my main program right now is 3 months, and it's either biweekly sessions or weekly sessions, depending on what you want, with Voxer support all week and sometimes on the weekends, because I want people to reach out when they're really in it, because that's when you can make the most progress. And what they can expect is really like being held accountable and helping them understand, like, okay, these are the healthy foundations that like anyone should really have. And then we slowly add in like bringing back safety to the body. So through slow nervous system practices, and we build as they feel comfortable. Brain rewiring, visualizations, meditation. I do a lot myself from what's worked for me, and then I share the videos. But I also have tons of like really easy ways, like my YouTube channel, Activate Your Healed Self. It's all free videos. Try to post weekly. Some weeks are better than others. But it's just easy ways that they can just try different things and steps to heal. And I also have a nervous system reset that's only $20, and it gives them a full daily practice that they can do. That's 20 minutes long, and a bunch of guides for when they're stuck in like an anxiety spiral. So definitely lots of ways. And also like I just want to be a resource for people. So even if people just want to reach out via DM, my handle is Sanctuary Health and Wellness on Instagram, or Sanctuary Health on TikTok. Yeah, I really just want to be there for however I can, because I know how challenging it can be in the thick of it for sure.
I love that. Thank you. And we
Yes.
appreciate your time and and your patience this morning. Um, th-
No, it's okay.
Thank you for sharing your story, and we will include your business or your social media links with your business in our show note captions, as well as your YouTube channel, because you cannot go wrong with free videos.
Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you guys
Yeah.
for having me.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and share it with a friend who might enjoy it too. You can follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook at Slice of Lime to stay connected. And we would love to hear from you. Send us your questions or topics you'd like us to cover in future episodes. Don't forget to check out the link in our description to see our sponsors and partners. When you use our codes or links, you not only get a discount, but you also help support the podcast. If you'd like to support us directly, you can always buy us a coffee through the link as well. We are so grateful that you're here, and we'll see you in the next episode.